Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Got a new Cardfight Vanguard video for you guys today. I know I'm mad late, but let me tell you what happened. So, today's our episode review. Normally this would have came out Saturday right after the episode, but I got surprised with a buddy of mine coming from other side of the US. Lily came a week before I was expecting him to come. I canceled my stream and I just haven't had a chance to watch the episode until now. So you guys are getting this review on Monday. And you know what? Episode was pretty good. I got to see Krysrain, my favorite lyrical deck, do some cool stuff. And of course we got the new Leonore. By the time you guys are seeing this, tomorrow we'll be getting the announcement of the cards, which means we'll be able to play with them on Wednesday with our Cardfight Vanguard stream. So if you guys enjoy this kind of content, drop a like on the video, subscribe if you're new to the channel. Let's jump in, let's talk about the episode. So we are covering season 4 episode 7, Ever-Changing Melody, which is funny because, you know, Mikoto is the ever-changing one, and Melody usually relates to music, which Urawa is the musical one. You know, she can hear the cards and she plays instruments. So, episode opens up with Mikoto kind of having a meeting with Krysrain, and she's talking about how with the Destined Showdown and the Fated Clash over, what she's going to do next, and she basically asks Krysrain if she'll listen to her, basically go off about her path in the future. Cuts off, you know, trailers, opening, all that fun stuff. We jump back over and we see Mikoto getting a call, basically telling her that she has to work that night, that there was a schedule change. So she's like, okay, cool, I'm free until the evening. And she's on a bridge, she looks down and she sees Akina talking to Now. We actually saw this scene from a different angle in an earlier episode. And while she's looking at them, she looks down and she sees Erica basically stalking them. She goes up and she asks Erica what she's doing, and Erica basically explains that she saw Now and Akina walking away, that she's been following them ever since. And Mikoto's like, so you're stalking them? And she's like, no, as a sister, you know, it's my job to make sure my brother's happy. And so she's been supervising them, but when Mikoto walks up, she's like, at least hold hands or something. She wants to see them get together, which I thought was cute. But they end up leaving. Erica follows them and she drags Mikoto after them. While they're eating some ice cream, Urara shows up and assumes that they're on a date. They get all flustered and it's cute. And Erica's like, yes, this is it. But then Suo fucking shows up and Suo's like, no, they're not on a date. They're just gonna card fight, because why else would two people be together? And he basically, you know, diffuses the situation, and Erica gets pissed because she already has strong feelings about Suo, and now he's getting in between him, Akina and Now getting together. So she's about to go after Suo, and Mikoto's trying to hold her back. And then all of a sudden, for no reason whatsoever, Kakatsu shows up. And alright, they all end up deciding to hang out, and they all end up at Megumi's card shop, Stray Cat, and they're all talking, and Ura, it turns out she's actually a Mikoto fan. Sorry, a Mitan fan, you know, her idol persona. And she starts asking Mikoto about when she started playing Vanguard. Mikoto asks her, they exchange stories, you know. And Ura starts talking about, you know, she gets a little personal. She starts talking about how she plays for Blackout. She plays for a team called Tirnanog Youth. So Blackout is what she plays on who she plays with on her free time. Tirnanog Youth is her team that's trained to try and go pro. And then of course she's also in the school band pursuing music. And it seems like she's doing a lot. She says she's greedy. And there's a point where she wants to start talking about something that's bothering her, but she's like, I shouldn't be venting to Mitan. Next scene, we see everybody at a table, and Ura invites everybody to come to Wonder Hill to play with Blackout, because she's gonna go play with Blackout. And Kagetsu has to pass because he's got something to do, and Mikoto has to pass because she has to work. Anyway, so Ura's like, oh, that sucks. Mikoto's like, you know what? How about, since I can't go, I make it up to you, let's have a fight right now. And yeah, they go literally straight into the fight. So we are going to, of course, cover the cards, cover the plays. Guys, as always, if you guys have ever seen my episode breakdowns, my fight breakdowns, they do not announce their draw for turn or their energy charge. Just assume that those happen. Those are, you know, mandatory mechanics. There's also a bunch of effects that they don't declare. I will try and put in where these effects would have went, these skills that I noticed. If I missed any, don't hold it against me. I did the best I could, especially since I'm doing this the night before. So guys, let's jump in. So up first, we have our starters. We have Racing Wind Corfi. This is actually a new ride line for Leonore. And then Mikoto actually has her normal ride line, which starts off with Wonder Lavender Ursel. So up first is actually Aurora. Aurora starts by riding Budding Sensation Garcia, and she uses its skill immediately to call a plant token, which I think is cool. Give it a little early game. Turn 2, Mikoto rides Lively Navy Tifane. Again, don't kill me for these pronunciations. She also calls Cooling Heart Yukio. Mikoto attacks with Tifane. Aurora doesn't guard. Mikoto then doesn't get a trigger, and Aurora takes 1 damage. Mikoto attacks with Yuika. Aurora guards. Turn is over. The damage is 1-0 with Mikoto in the lead. They both take a second to compliment each other on their play and how committed they are to winning. Aurora talks about her ability to hear music and how she can hear music coming from Mikoto's cards and how they sound fun. Aurora asks Mikoto if she wants to go pro. This is actually a big plot point of the episode. And at first, Mikoto looks a little uncomfortable. You know, Aurora backpedals. She's like, "Oh, I didn't mean to get so personal," but Mikoto's like, "You know what? This is with all my friends here. This is a good chance to tell you guys about my story with Vanguard." And then it cuts to, you know, more commercials, as Vanguard often does. But when we come back, we jump into turn 3, and Aurora rides Hopeful Tune Rectina, and she calls Friendly Maiden Alvina, which we know that card, and she uses that skill. Auto, when this unit is placed on rear guard from hand other than during the battle phase, and she blasts 3 and perform one of the following. Either choose an order card without regardless piece from your drop, put it into your hand, or choose a grade 1 or less unit from the drop and call it to rear guard. With this skill, she calls Rhythm of Joy Alentis, and then Urara moves to her battle phase. She attacks with the Alentis. Mikoto guards. She attacks with Rectina. Mikoto doesn't guard. Urara doesn't get a trigger on her drive check. Mikoto takes 1 damage, and then she attacks with Alvina, in which this one Mikoto guards. And the turn is over. The damage is now 1-1. It is even. Turn 4. Mikoto rides Confident Aqua Musette and uses Tifane's skill. Auto, when this unit is rolled upon by Confident Aqua Musette, reveal the top card of your deck, call it to rear guard if it is a grade 2 or less normal unit, and put it into your hand if it is not. You know, considering this whole ride line is free, this actually is, I never realized that her ride line is actually pretty good. Because you're revealing the card, if it's a grade 1 or 2, you can call it. But if it's a 0, a 3, or an order, you get to add it in the hand. So that's pretty good. So you always get the plus, you know what I mean? Anyway, with the scale of Musette, she ends up calling a new card called Armel. They don't say the official name or the full name, but we know it's Armel. She ends up using this card a lot. When she calls it, she soul charges 1. There's a lot more to this card that we'll talk about in the rest of the breakdown. It has more effects when you're on Krysrain. But she moves to her battle phase. She attacks with Tifane. Aurora guards. Mikoto doesn't get a trigger on her drive check. She then attacks with the Armel. This time Aurora doesn't guard and takes 1 damage. After the battle, Mikoto uses Yuika's skill because Yuika was behind Armel, which is auto rear guard at the end of the battle. This unit boosted a rear guard, so bless 1. Choose one of your boosted rear guards, return it to hand. Mikoto returns the Armel to hand, and the turn is over. Damage is now 2-1 with Mikoto in the lead. And now we get into Mikoto's story. So there was a point where Mikoto quit being an idol. It just became mentally exhausting. We actually saw some of that in like the first season of DivineZ, and she ended up finding Vanguard, and that kind of became her outlet for all her frustrations. She called it adding color to her life. It's basically her way of dealing with stress, and because of it, because of how much she loves the game and how much she enjoys playing it as this not sort of escape, but this like outlet for her emotions, she does not want to go pro, which I think is a big deal, mostly because it evolves her character in a separate way than everybody else. Everybody else seems like they just want to go pro. She doesn't. She loves Vanguard, and she doesn't want it to become her job. She wants it to be her able to have it. She wants to be the epitome of a casual player. She loves the game. She respects everybody that, you know, goes out and becomes pro and gets paid to play Vanguard, but she wants to be able to just enjoy herself when she plays. I really enjoyed that they did this with her. It kind of sucks. It sounds like they're gonna end up writing Mikoto out of the series, but it is a good way to close her character. We see this in real life, and it's kind of a big deal. Like, competitive players in card games can get really, really toxic and really way too serious about the game, and the casual players just want to have fun, just want to enjoy themselves, and it's okay to be either one. You know what I mean? So showing that different side in the anime is really, really cool. But Urara, here's what she's saying. and she talks about all the different card fights, competitive card fights, fun card fights, all the different motivations people have, and she wants to play with everybody. And as she puts it, she wants to bring the notes together. And as the music wraps together, this is where she ends up revealing the new Leonore. So Urara immediately does a unison dress. I gotta see how that's gonna work when the card gets announced. But she does, it's called Bandmaster of Blooming Dreams, Leonore Chamend. I hope I said that right. But this is our new Leonore. When she rides, Urara uses the new Rectina's new skill. When it's ridden by Leonore, it reduces Leonore's counterblast cost by 1 for the turn. So we already know that Leonore's going to cost a counterblast, which is cool. Urara calls Molmir. I hope I said that right. This is another new card, and it immediately lets her draw a card. Urara then calls Ethereal Cadence Lagrasse. There we go. And used its skill. This one we know. Auto, when this unit is placed on rearguard, choose a grade 3 with Leonore and its card name from your ride deck. You may reveal it if you reveal the card. Or you have a grade 3 or greater Vanguard with Leonore and its card name. Kind of +1, look at the top 7 cards of your deck. Choose up to 1 card with Leonore and its card name. From among them, reveal it and put it into your hand and shuffle the deck. It doesn't show us, if you did not put a card, draw a card. It doesn't show us which Leonore she adds, but she does announce that she adds one. I'm assuming she added a Persona Ride, so another copy of this version of Leonore. Urara then moves to her battle phase. She attacks with Leonore straight up and uses Leonore's skill, boosting with 3 units, same as she's always had, boosted with the entire back row, and she gains an extra drive check. Mikoto doesn't guard. Urara does get a draw trigger on her triple drive though, giving the power to the Molmir and drawing an extra card. Mikoto takes 1 damage. At the end of the battle, Urara stands 2 of her back row rear guards, and then she continues with her attacks. She attacks with Lagrasse. Mikoto doesn't guard, taking 1 damage. And then she attacks with the powered up Molmir. Mikoto does guard this one. The turn is over. Damage is now 3-2 with Urara in the lead. Turn 6, and this is where we get to see the new Krysrain. So for anybody that doesn't know why I like Krysrain so much, I have never really taken an interest in lyrical, but when the faded ones came out, I wanted to try them all out, and that included Krysrain. And not gonna lie, I was not into it. But then I got my hands on it. I started playing with the cards, started messing with some of the combos, and I had a lot of fun with Krysrain, and she actually turned me on to lyrical as a clan, as a nation. And I started, trying out different lyrical decks. She is still to this day my favorite lyrical deck. To see a brand new Krysrain made me really excited. But Mikoto rides faded one of ever-changing Krysrain Cadenza. Kind of weak on the name change, though. I will say that it's not really much different. But Mikoto uses Muset's skill. Auto with this unit is wrote upon by a grade 3 Krysrain in its card name. Reveal the top card of your deck. Call it to rearguard if it's a grade 3 less normal unit. Putting it into your hand if it is not. Similar to the grade 2. With this skill, Mikoto calls Loving Pink Franchette. Love that card. Mikoto also calls Armel back from hand. And now we get to see its other skill, which is auto. When placed, counterblast 1, draw a card. And Armel and Krysrain both gain 5,000 power. Obviously, this we didn't see this before because she wasn't on Krysrain yet. Mikoto then calls Moderate Mint Rochelle from hand. I love this card. This is one card that Krysrain absolutely needed. Mikoto then activates Krysrain Cadenza's skill, and we get to see Krysrain Cadenza's new skill. It's basically a direct upgrade from OG Krysrain, where OG Krysrain had 3 skills that were activated based on how many rear guards you had. Well, you got to pick 1, and then if you had 4 units with different names, you got to pick 2. If you had 5, you got all of them. This one is very similar. We don't get to see what the scaling is for number of units because she already has 5 units with different names, but we basically get to see what all the skills are. She still gets the draw and energy charge. She still gets to choose a unit and give it 15,000. Krysrain gets a critical, and the new skill is you get to choose one of your rear guards, and at the end of turn, it returns to hand. This is awesome because this allows you to not only protect your combo pieces, but reuse them because the lyrical has a lot of on-play skills. So Mikoto ends up giving Franchette the 15k power. She gives Krysrain the extra critical. She draws the card and energy charges, and she gives Yuika the skill to bounce back to hand at the end of turn. Then Mikoto uses Franchette's skill, which is Auto Rigo. When this unit is chosen by the effect of your grade 3 or greater Vanguard with Krysrain's card name, choose one of your Vanguards and gets 10,000 power until end of turn. So she gives the 15,000 power to Franchette. Franchette gives 10,000 power back to Krysrain. Now, I'm going to talk about this because this bothers me with the actual game. So there has been an errata to Krysrain with the way she works. So originally the way it was, at least the way I thought it worked, was that in the case of Franchette and Rochelle, it says you have to choose a unit that was targeted by Krysrain, which I assumed was whatever unit you gave the 15,000 power to. Makes sense. Sounds like it. But apparently Krysrain was errated. Basically, you target all of your rear guards with different names. So you already targeted all of them when you're picking the units to check the names, it targets then. Mad weird. It's silly. So it doesn't even the 15k power doesn't matter where you put it. It's just once you activate Krysrain's first skill, whatever rear guard you chose to compare names, those were targeted by the skill, so those are affected by both skills. So you could give the 15,000 power to Krysrain because you targeted Franchette with the choose skill, with the choose the different names skill. It can give another 10,000 to Krysrain, which is just, it was weird, and I don't know if that's how they intended for the card to work, but it does. Moving on. Mikoto then calls Blue-Haired Prodigy Recess. I don't like this card, but uses its skill. It's a 3k grade 1, and what it does is when it's placed on rear guard, choose one of your units and get 10,000 power, so she gives another 10,000 power to Krysrain. I thought she was going to go for a divine skill here, but anyway. Mikoto attacks with Armel, Urara guards. Doesn't announce it here, but this is one of those skills I told you. They don't announce it, but they do it. Mikoto uses Yuika's skill to bounce Armel back to hand. We end up seeing the rear guard circle later, and it's empty. Mikoto attacks with Franchette. Urara doesn't guard here. Urara takes 1 damage and gets a draw trigger, gaining 10k power and drawing a card. So this immediately nerfs Mikoto's turn. Mikoto attacks with Krysrain and uses Rochelle's skill. Auto rear guard when you're grade 3 or greater Vanguard with Krysrain in its card name. Attacks, Energy Blast 3, put this card into your soul, draw a card. If your rear guard did not stand by a card's ability this turn, choose a rear guard chosen by the ability of your grade 3 or greater Vanguard with Krysrain in its card name and stand it. Mikoto restands Franchette, Urara guards the Vanguard, and Mikoto gets a critical on her twin drive, giving both effects to Franchette. Mikoto attacks with Franchette, Urara guards, Mikoto returns Yuika to hand with Krysrain's skill, turn is over, damage is now 3-3. And so far the game's been great, we got to see a lot of new cards, but now we get into a little bit of the out of game stuff. This is the stuff that Urara didn't want to talk about earlier. So Urara has 3 paths. She is a casual Vanguard player with Team Blackout, she is a competitive Vanguard player with the Trainer Dog, and she's also got her music career, and she loves doing all of them, and she calls herself a greedy girl because she wants to keep doing all 3. But eventually, as she gets older, she's going to have to actually choose a career path, and she's already struggling with which to choose because she's like, what am I going to do with the other 2? And Mikoto hits her with some facts. She's like, so what? If she decides to become a competitive Vanguard player with Tyranno Dog, why can't she still play casually with Blackout? Why can't she still play music? If she pursues a career in music, why does she have to give up Vanguard? And Mikoto's just like, all these things, all these experiences, you don't have to give them up. They are going to help shape you into the person you want to be. Embrace all of it. Enjoy all the experiences you can. And worry about your path as you get there. And this hyper motivates Urara because she realizes Mikoto's right. She's worrying about her future when in reality she should just be enjoying the life that she has right now and figuring that out when the time comes. But now we go into a big turn for Urara. Urara persona rides a new copy of Leonorn Tramend, and then she calls Rhythm of Joy Alentis and another copy of Lagrasse. Urara uses Lagrasse's skill to add a copy of Leonorn Vivience from her top 7. This was one of the other Leonorns, the first time we saw Unison dress, I believe. But Urara attacks with Lagrasse, Mikoto doesn't guard, takes 1 damage. Urara attacks with Momor, I can't pronounce this one, but then uses its skill, auto this unit attack, choose a rear guard from your back row. I'm assuming that isn't attacking or boosting, and add its power to this unit, so it gets really, really big. Mikoto doesn't guard, now Mikoto goes to 5. Urara then attacks with Leonorn, activating its skill, standing the back row, and boosting with all 3 units and gaining +1 drive. I didn't know she restands the back row rear guards. This is the first time we see it. So I don't know if it's part of your opponent being at grade 3 or something, but she ends up restanding the back row rear guards that boosted, resting them, giving the power to the Vanguard, gaining +1 drive. Mikoto guards the perfect guard. Urara gets a critical trigger on her triple drive and gives the effect to Leonorn. And then we get to see another part of Leonorn's skill, which is at the end of the battle that Urara attacked. If your opponent's Vanguard is grade 3 or greater, stand this unit and a front or rear guard, and this unit gets drive -3. Then you can take a Leonorn, put it into your soul, and it gets drive +1. So now she restands the Vanguard, restands one of her front or rear guards, gets drive +1. She then attacks with Leonore. Mikoto guards this one. She gets another critical trigger on her 4th drive check and gives both of the effects to the restood Momoir. Urara then attacks with the powered up Momoir. Sorry if I'm butchering that name. Mikoto manages to guard, but she uses 4 cards out of hand and an intercept, leaving her with 1 card in hand and no field. We have another effect that didn't get announced, but she ends up using Atlantis' skill at the end of turn. Auto rig at the end of your turn, if you're a Vanguard, was boosted a total of 3 or more times. This turn, retire this unit, draw a card. If your damage zone has no face-up cards, countercharge 1. We end up seeing that she ends up having a face-up damage on the following turn. That's how we know she countercharged. Damage at the end of this turn is 3 to 5, with Urara back in the lead. And now we go into turn 8, which, spoiler alert, is the final turn. So Mikoto persona rides another copy of Krysrain Cadenza, and then she called. So I'm going to count this out for you so you realize how close this actually kind of was. So she ends up with 1 card in hand at the end of Urara's turn. She draws for turn. She persona rides, which draws you a card. She calls Armel. She doesn't announce it, but she uses Armel's skill to draw a card and give 5k to Armel and Krysrain. So she ends up drawing an extra card when she calls Armel. So now she still has 2 cards. And then she calls Morning Practice in the Calm Seas Tormana and uses its skill. Auto when this unit is placed on rear guard. If you have a grade 3 or greater Vanguard with Krysrain's card name, Soul Blast 2 cards with different names. Search your deck for up to 1 grade 1 card without Sentinel. And if you do not have a rear guard with the same name as that card, call it to rear guard, and that unit gets 5,000 power until end of turn. So now she gets another call. So mind you, she has 2 rear guards on the board right now. With this skill, Mikoto calls another copy of Rochelle, and then she calls her last card out of hand, which is a critical trigger, Cheerful Sunshine Warris. So now she has 4 rear guards. With Krysrain and the 4 rear guards, she now has 5 units with different names. So she uses Krysrain's skill. She draws a card and she charges 3. She gives the 15k power to Krysrain and an extra critical to Krysrain, and makes it so that the Warris, the critical trigger that she called, is going to bounce back to her hand. She then calls the last card from her hand that she just drew off of Krysrain's skill, which is Diva of Refreshing Calm Christine, which is a Sentinel unit. So now her rear guard is full. She moves to her battle phase. She attacks with Tormana. Urara doesn't guard. Urara takes 1 damage. So Urara's at 4 now. Urara gets a defensive critical trigger, giving her an additional 10k to guard with the rest of the turn. Mikoto then attacks with Armel. Urara guards. Mikoto attacks with Krysrain. Again, they have a big one. This is a big one that they don't announce. This one bothered me. But on attack, she uses Rochelle's skill, which, remember, Rochelle goes to Soul, draws a card, restands a rear guard, because she ends up restanding Armel, which is huge, because you'll see. But anyway, Urara guards the Vanguard. Mikoto gets a critical trigger on her twin drive. She ends up giving both effects to the now restood Armel. This was big because, again, they didn't announce the restand, but she ends up giving the trigger to the restood rear guard. Mikoto uses Krysrain Cadenza's Divine skill, so we get to see the new Divine skill. It's pretty close to the same with a couple big differences. Auto at the end of the battle, this unit attacked if your opponent's Vanguard is grade 3 or greater. Return any number of rear guards back to hand, and then call a rear guard from hand and increase or decrease its power and critical to equal Krysrain's. So she bounces back Tormana and the Sentinel that she called, getting her perfect card back to hand, to now call this unit in front. And now its power and critical match Krysrain's, which, as we know, Krysrain's got 10k from her Persona Ride, 15k from her own skill. I can't remember if boost gets added to that. Somebody let me know in the comments, because I always forget, honestly. So that's already a big number on the rear guard, and it has a critical, and now her other rear guard has a critical as well. So she's got 5 attacks, 3 of which have double critical. After, we get some... nothing crazy, just talking about how find the possibilities of Krysrain. Mikoto ends up calling back out the Tormana that she added back to hand, and she's able to use its skill as well, which, remember, Soul Blast, 2 cards, different names, grade 1, give it 5k. She superior calls Presenter Song Alvel Legena behind the Armel. So now she's got the boosted up Tormana with Krysrain's power and critical, and then she has Armel on the other side with the 10k and critical from the trigger. And this thing, what this grade 1 does is that if you have a Vanguard with a Divine skill, it gets plus 10k. So she's got a 23k booster on the back row behind Armel now. She ends up calling it behind Armel because Rochelle left the rear guard, went to the Soul, so now there's an open circle there. So she did some pretty amazing moves. Mikoto tells Urara that, like her, she wants to embrace everything as it comes, and that she will be rooting for Urawa as she ever changes. I thought that was kind of cheesy, but I get it. Mikoto attacks with Tormana. Urawa doesn't guard. She takes 2 damage. Mikoto wins 5-6. They both end up screaming. Mikoto screaming in victory. Urawa screaming in defeat. They tell each other how tough they were. They shake hands. It's all wholesome. Afterwards, everybody leaves except for Mikoto and Kagetsu, because remember, Mikoto has to work. Kagetsu had something to do, but Kago ends up staying behind, saying that he wants to fight her, that his alter ego wants to test the ever-changing one. So, the ever-changing diva, I'm sorry, that's what he calls her. We go over to Urawa and the gang, and they're walking through the woods at night, and they finally get to Wonder Hill, and everybody's freaking out because it does look like a horror movie setup. And then the lights come on, and they get welcomed to Wonder Hill by Megumi, and we see every goat of Blackout, all the original members, Yu, fucking everybody's there, and it looks like it's gonna be a grand time. I honestly was hoping that the next episode would be them fighting Blackout, but it's not. It's actually the Blackout origin story, which I also think is pretty cool, but we're probably not gonna get any serious card fight next episode, which is kind of a letdown. So if I do cover it next episode, it'll be really, really short. If not, I could wait till the following episode where we get probably some more. I do want to get back to the tournament, so I hope that happens soon. But anyway, guys, that's the end of this episode. Let me know how you guys felt about it. Last episode and this episode, obviously, were a little bit of filler episodes, but it was to show off new support for some other decks that are already out, which is cool. I'm okay with it. They were also pretty good card fights. Guys, if you want to check me out on social media, those links are down below. If you guys want to see me play some Cardfight Vanguard live, come by the next Cardfight Vanguard stream, which will be Wednesday, 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And of course, I would love to have you, and hopefully we will get to play with Cadenza. I'm super excited to play with her. That'll be it for me, guys, and I'll catch you on the next video. Later.
In my eyes, I was born for this. I got demons on my side, doing right like this. I got reason to believe, found meaning from my gifts. Only I can change the world and it go like this.